Okay, I want to go to the last topic before we finish this and discuss. An email has gone out that WB Games Montreal is playtesting a game in January. There's a lot of things it could be. It could be that they're playtesting Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, which wouldn't necessarily make sense because the game's being developed by Rocksteady. But it's possible because they're the same parent company, whatever. But let's assume here, as many are speculating, that this is a separate game. We did know that WB Games Montreal was developing two separate games during the time of Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights obviously was one of the two. This is the second one. So what do we think this game could be, and what do we want it to be?
Superman. I swear to God, bro, I don't give a fuck if it's WB Montreal. Honestly, if WB Montreal decides to do just a single player experience game and they're just focused on like creating a combat system and like a really fun, like just one character, not four characters that have a different play style and you do RPG, just do one character that has a one open world like the size of Gotham Knights, that has an actual art design and art style and art direction and a good story, and you have Superman right there. I mean, personally, my opinion, you can just do an invasion of Kryptonians. You could do an invasion of Brainiac. Have Mongol take fucking Superman off to a different world and have him fight different monsters in World or whatever the fuck that thing is called. War World. Dude, I swear to God, it's so many different things. But if they make another fucking like Gotham Knights game, like a Teen Titans type Gotham Knights game, I'm gonna fucking blow my brains out. That's all I got.
So,
all right. So what you're saying is
think...
you're looking for a Harley Quinn game. Am I getting that right? You're looking for
and the boss battles.
I want to catch up, man. I want to ketchup and mustard man, or whatever the fuck that one character is.
Condiment King. Yeah,
Condiment King. I want that guy. Give me a solo game with Condiment King where he shoots Batman in the head with ketchup and mustard.
All right, hold up. No, it's gonna be a Deathstroke game, but he's in a tank the whole time, and it's like World of Tanks,
bro.
Gotham City Sirens kill the Bat family.
That sounds pretty good. Where you kill Nightwing and you throw like you kill Nightwing in the most brutal fashion ever, and you like Damian Wayne him in Injustice, make him land on a rock.
No. It's way better than that. You use Poison Ivy's pheromones to convince him to just walk off a building, and that's how.
Oh my God, they're gonna kill Catwoman. They're gonna kill Catwoman.
She's 2.
They're gonna give Catwoman 9 lives, make her come back as a child, and flirt with Batman, bro. It's gonna be evil.
To be honest, it could be the Wonder Woman game. I know a lot of their job posts recently have been support roles for Wonder Woman. So it could be Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. It could be Wonder Woman. I don't have like any solid information on what they're working on. I do have a few people I talk to that have a few more details than I do, generally speaking. I know that Gotham Knights was not loved by the higher ups at Warner Brothers. They were not thrilled with the reception that got. I know that another Arkham game has been on the table for a while.
Nice.
I don't know if that's what this is or if that's even going to happen. I do know, though, that there has been a lot of discussion of doing another Batman Arkham game. It seems unlikely to me that there hasn't been a Superman game in high consideration. David Zaslav himself has even talked about how underutilized Superman as a character has been. James Gunn is really putting a lot of stake into Superman with his reboot of the DC film franchise. So I would not be surprised if Superman was going to potentially be a contender for what they're working on next. I guess it could be a Gotham Knights follow-up where it's a Teen Titans game or something to that effect. But when you have Patrick Redding and Fleur Marty and Jeff Ellenor all leaving Warner Brothers Games Montreal and all kind of, I mean, at least one of them made a tweet thread saying like, yeah, not leaving on the best terms here. Don't really want to go into details, but it was kind of a toxic environment.
Osama Dorius left too.
Yeah. So when you have all these higher ups leaving, it doesn't seem like they're going to do a Gotham Knights 2 or whatever they wanted to do next. So I think for me, I'm going to guess whatever that second game is probably either going to be another Arkham Origins style game or maybe a Batman Beyond game, kind of like that leaked Damian Wayne one from a while ago. Or I could see it being a Superman game. But I don't know. It really could just be another playtest for Suicide Squad.
Here's my thing. It's like how substantial and how like actually useful is WB Montreal when it comes to like helping out other studios, because they didn't do anything until Gotham Knights for like 9 years. And when they were making Gotham Knights, like what I'm saying here is that I'm sure they're a big help to other studios, and they probably do add a little bit of support. But why don't they just say fuck that and just put all 500 of the developers into one game and make a giant fucking game, instead of like breaking off 2 development teams into 2 different games and then having like 50% of your other studios working on 3 different games with other studios? It just feels a little off sometimes. Like they're all over the place, and it doesn't seem like WB Montreal knows what they really want to be, especially with Gotham Knights too. Because again, it felt like it was going to be an Arkham Knights. It could have been an Arkham Knights sequel, but instead it's like some fucking RPG game that has a very clunky story and clunky combat to follow. So it's like, I don't even know where they could even go that would make them really good besides something big like a solo story game. Like they just need to go back. Like everybody's like saying, oh my God, Arkham Knight Origins is underrated. It's WB Montreal's only game, and the game they decided to go with is like the complete antithesis of what Arkham Origins was. So I don't know.
I think that Gotham Knights is a great example of them trying something different, but trying to almost do everything different. Like they didn't stick to a direction. I was recently, I always hesitate to start a new playthrough of Gotham Knights because they only have one save slot, which is also an odd choice. But
is that true? I didn't know that.
I honestly have not played that game since the year it came out, which was like what, 2022, the end of 2022.
Yeah.
I haven't touched that game since like December of 2022.
The whole pitch of the game is there's 4 playable characters that all do everything differently. But yeah, there's only one save slot. The second you open New Game Plus, you cannot go back to your original save.
So weird.
But I was thinking about it recently, and the only thing that they would have needed to add to that game that I think could have saved it is the Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor. Like that alone would have been a feature where nothing like Shadow of Mordor, I don't think, other than the Nemesis system, was like a particularly great game. I didn't think it was anything to write home about, but the Nemesis system was like 24 hours of gameplay that I was invested in before I got bored. And if that had been Gotham Knights, if it had been a game where it was like a rich underworld of Gotham City that you'd had to go and root out, that would have been cool. And I think that that's the stuff that as DC fans we want. We want ambitious games that change the way you play it and, you know, that introduce new mechanics. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I hope that they've kind of learned from some of the constructive criticism from Gotham Knights. I know that a lot of the developers have kind of made it almost seem like they just view people who didn't like it as haters. But for me, I mean, I didn't go into Gotham Knights wanting to dislike the game. You know, I wanted to love it. I wanted it to be the best thing ever. And I don't know. I wish them the best of luck with whatever they do. But I definitely, let me put it this way. I'd be more excited about an Arkham Origins sequel than a Gotham Knights sequel.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think the problem with Gotham Knights is that there's nothing really interesting. I mean, Gotham Knights as a whole, when you start the game, it's like a 6-minute cutscene, and then you have to stand there for like 2 or 3 more minutes and listen to the sidekicks talk about what happened, and then you choose your sidekick, right? And then like compare that to like Spider-Man 2, where it's like, holy shit, Harry just got put into the tank. That's like 1-minute cutscene. You get Spider-Man 2 and you get Peter in the fucking teacher room with Miles. That's like maybe a 3-minute cutscene. And then you're instantly fighting Sandman. In this, you're like, you have to like walk through a university until you run into random Harley Quinn goons. Like, where the fuck is Joker in this? Like, no offense, but like, you know what I mean? At least like Spider-Man 2 can start the game with something interesting. With this, you instantly start the gameplay by like learning how to like walk around and jump up a wall or like do investigative shit. I understand they're setting up the pace and what the game is, but at the same time, like, holy fuck, even Spider-Man 1, when they first introduced you to this character, you're jumping out the window and doing web swinging shit. With this, it's again, you're by the time Spider-Man 2 is web swinging, you're literally still halfway through Batman's cutscene. So it's like, well, I think Gotham Knights is a big flop overall.
it was a game that was trying to accommodate everybody in a way. It was trying to accommodate single player, multiplayer, RPG. Many people suspect live service mechanics were planned, and I think that it ended up kind of not appealing to anybody because they didn't stick to anything. Spider-Man 2 is not going to do anything for multiplayer gamers. I'm sorry, it's just not. There's no mechanics in there that are multiplayer. But it has a great single player experience. And that's not to say that, I mean, if Spider-Man 2 had been a multiplayer experience, it would have been a very different game. I think it still could have been very, very good, but they would have had to really stick to that. And I think that is what I want to see from Warner Brothers Games Montreal, whether it's a Superman game, whether it's a Flash game, whatever it is. I'd actually be totally fine if they announced a Superman game that was a full-on RPG. And they said it is a single-player RPG. You're going to level up your character. You're going to be able to customize your suit over the course of the game. That'd be cool if they really stuck to it and it was an 80-hour-long game that just was an incredible Superman experience. I'm all for that. Yeah. What I wouldn't want is a game where it's like, oh yeah, it's 1 or 2 player. You can play the whole game as Superman or Crypto the Superdog.
Yo, not Crypto the Superdog.
Yeah.
Oh man, Kobe, I need to know.
I'm more of an Ace the Bat Hound kind of guy myself. But
come on, man, Ace the Bat Hound can't fucking fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes. He's just gonna bark at you the whole time. What game do you really want? Because wow, okay, look, I want the Flash game. Honestly, I think a Flash game would work, but what I want from the Flash game is something like Insomniac's vibe, because I think the Flash with Insomniac's like flair would be so fucking good. Like imagine just playing in like almost like a New York type world, but with the Flash and like in their graphics with their type of like style of playing with all of their combat. I think the Flash would work phenomenal for Insomniac. But with WB Montreal, I mean, from what they've shown, it's like they've only succeeded off the backbones of fucking Rocksteady's employees. And when they do their own thing, it doesn't really seem like it's really accomplished anything. So what would you want, Bobby?
So what you just said there is such a great point, and that kind of is my take on it almost, is that I think that WB, and this is going to sound mean, I don't mean to sound mean, but I think WB Games Montreal is best positioned to do games like Batman Arkham Origins, which is to take an existing structure of an already well-made game like Batman Arkham City and then kind of make like a DLC for it. In other words, like WB Games Montreal should make a Batman Arkham Origins or like a Spider-Man Miles Morales, right? Where they kind of like, it's kind of copying the mechanics of a game that already is super well made by a super talented dev like Rocksteady or Insomniac. And then they do kind of like an expansion of it. So doing a game like Spider-Man Miles Morales or Arkham Origins is perfect for them. So I really think that they should do Batman Arkham games. And it's not because I don't want them to make a Flash game. It's because I don't think it will work. A Flash game like Rocksteady and Insomniac are the only two I trust to do that. And after all these leaks, maybe I don't even trust Rocksteady, but like definitely not WB Games Montreal. We saw what WB Games Montreal did with almost a decade of time with their first original creation. And the whole thing, it would have been better if it was just the Arkham free flow combat with it should have just been a follow-up to Arkham Knight with the Arkham free flow combat playing as Batman. Like, did anybody, and I mean anybody, prefer the combat in Gotham Knights as opposed to Arkham free flow combat?
I can't think of one person that would like. I still play Arkham Knight over Gotham Knights, bro. There's no like, I don't know. Again, like even with that game, there is no flow. Like Arkham Knight is free flow, but like I think I said in my review, this game is no flow. There's no flow to this game when you play this stupid ass combat.
And this is my point, is like if they had just made an extension of Arkham Knight, like kind of an expansion pack or what the equivalent of Spider-Man Miles Morales was to Spider-Man 1, then that's perfect. Boom. Like they're good at doing that. Batgirl, Robin, they already had gameplay. They could have just built upon it and made a new story with it. And that could take them a couple of years as opposed to them spending 10 years on a game we didn't even like. So that's kind of my controversial and like slightly rude.
That's not even controversial because it feels like that's what they should have been doing from the get-go, is that Rocksteady should have been always the main developer, almost like Insomniac. And it's kind of hard to like compare Insomniac with a smaller developer that could be doing their work. But it's almost like, Rocksteady should have been doing that, where they have WB Montreal going in, making a bridge in between Arkham Knight and Suicide Squad, and making that type of gap right there, so they have something there. But instead, it's like Gotham Knights, that's its own thing, and they're trying to like literally make it. They're saying word for word, This isn't Arkham. This is its own thing. So it's like at that point, when you look at that, why are they even existing? Like, why are they even existing? Just to make RPG.
And so Gotham Knights took twice as long to make as any Arkham game and was half as good, right? So why don't they just stay in the lane of making multiple Arkham Origins, like doing that over and over again? And give them
Arkham Origins 2. They could have made Arkham Origins 2 and quite literally like made double what they made of fucking Gotham Knights. I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it.
And they could do, there's a lot of different games they could do as well within that Arkham universe that are still stories to be told that don't necessarily have to include Batman. But now that they did Gotham Knights, like, okay, sure, it's a little bit harder to do a sequel to Arkham Knight now, because they already like did that, but it wasn't connected for some reason, and it was like totally different characters. So that's super weird. But for instance, if Rocksteady had made a Superman game here, then WB Games Montreal could have used the same mechanics and made like a Supergirl game, for instance. Like that could be something that works. But right now I don't think they're making anything potentially. They could just be an outsourced dev. But Jake, what do you think?
Yeah. It's interesting. I always see the take on Twitter that the Arkhamverse should just be done. And this was even long before the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game was announced. I've seen people who are just ready for a reinvention of the universe. And honestly, I'd even be okay if they said we're doing a continuity reset with similar mechanics, and they can build upon that exponentially. I would love a Batman game that has a similar level of scope and fidelity to something like, I mean, obviously this is a impossible dream, but like a GTA or Red Dead Redemption scale. Like imagine a Batman game that has a city that's like 12 times bigger than Arkham Knight, that has a 60-hour long campaign with like 36 side missions, and it's just so expansive.
True.
Like,
and you
I
do
would
like
love that.
50 different Batmobiles and 50 different motorcycles.
You could have the Batwing and the Batboat.
Yeah, and you bring in the Nemesis system that Warner Brothers was so adamant on patenting and then has never used since. But there's so much you could do to increase like what we've already seen with those games, and there's still a lot of story to tell. I mean, do a dual play game or even a multiplayer Arkham game where it's Batman and Robin, and then do one with Jason Todd and Catwoman as playable characters, and then maybe do a Green Arrow game set in Star City where it's still kind of small scale and you can use the free flow combat, but it's a little bit different. I agree that I'd like to see them do kind of Miles Morales sized games where it's just kind of the B project, where we get whatever Rocksteady does, and then we get the follow-up from Warner Brothers Games Montreal.
And then we get a guaranteed release every 2 years, like Insomniac gives us. We get a guaranteed release every 2 years, because we're not expecting, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, the story was what, 6-7 hours perhaps? Is that right?
It was about 6 hours. Yeah. I think I played it about right before the game came out.
Great. Like hours. I would love a 6-hour Batman and Robin game or a 6-hour Green Arrow game. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
With that being said, I will say though that, and this is kind of just coming to me spur of the moment, I do think that there's also a case to be made as talent comes and goes. And with the very hectic production behind Gotham Knights, I mean, if you saw the leaks where they were making a Damian Wayne game and then they were making a Suicide Squad game for a while and then they were pitching a Superman game, Gotham Knights feels like a Frankenstein of all of those. It feels like a game that takes the Court of Owls, it takes the Bat Bike from the Damian Wayne game, and then it takes the customization and multiple playable characters of Suicide Squad.
No, you're right.
And crams them all into a game to appease shareholders who have invested money into all these mechanics. And then it's a game that was going to have Catwoman and the Architect and Cyborg, and all of those characters got cut. I mean, it's the theatrical cut of Justice League, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's true.
It's so sad
But-
because all they needed to do was make Arkham Origins 2 with like the Court of Owls. All they needed to do was take basically the Court of Owls, like they were gonna do with Gotham Knights, put it into the Arkham universe right before Arkham Asylum, make Batman fight the Court of Owls with maybe Robin showing up, and I don't know who would have ever been objective to that. They literally tease that, and there's so much that they tease in Arkham Origins that it makes no sense to not make a sequel to that game with Roger Craig Smith coming back and having like a Robin character that you have to like protege, like almost like God of War, like where you have to take this kid and basically like train him, and he's basically teaching you how to become a better hero. Like, oh my God, why didn't they do that type of shit? It just makes so much more sense.
Or you even had Deathstroke, who was everybody loved Deathstroke in Arkham Origins. Do a Suicide Squad game as an Arkham Origins sequel where you're Deathstroke and you're on some mission in Gotham or Metropolis or whatever. That would have been cool.
Bro,
but
hey, wait. That's the thing too. With the Suicide Squad coming out right now, everybody's trying to convince me about the canonic, like the actual Suicide Squad. Why wasn't Deathstroke in this? He was in Arkham Origins getting invited to the Suicide Squad, and I think he's just going to be DLC. And that's the thing.
Yeah, he'll be DLC, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to fucking try to sell him for DLC. Or not sell him. I guess he is free, but you know what I mean. They're trying to sell your time is what they're doing.
Well, and maybe he'll have a great story to come with him. I don't know. I don't want to speak on that too much yet.
That would be cool.
One thing I will say, though, is that as talent has come and gone from Warner Brothers Games Montreal, I do think maybe they deserve another chance at doing something original. And the only reason I say that is two reasons, and it's two Warner Brothers games previously. I've already kind of talked about the Middle-earth games that brought in the Nemesis system. The stories I thought were very boring, but the Nemesis system was awesome. The other two, though, are the Mad Max game that was outsourced. That was incredible. That was basically an Arkham game where you were lethal and in a desert and you customized your car. That was awesome. And more recently, it was kind of a controversial game, but Hogwarts Legacy was from the same studio that made Disney Infinity. And that was a game that I had absolutely no stake in. And when I saw the scale of that game and the amount of content and the fact that most people who actually were invested in playing that game enjoyed it, I do think that there is a possibility that maybe Warner Brothers Games Montreal says, no, we really want to do a Flash game, and they knock it out of the park. If that's their vision, full force, that could be a thing. But with their track record so far, I think I'm definitely leaning toward the possibility of them doing more Arkham games.
Yeah. I agree. And, we could give them another chance, but they have to bring in big name talent if they want to actually attain that. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to bring in a visionary game director to be able to do that. And so, but either way, I mean, at the same point, that whole sort of strategy that I built out for them just doing spinoff of Rocksteady games, I don't want them to do a spinoff of these new mechanics in the Suicide Squad game, really. Just because I would rather them go back to Arkham. But at some point, I would have thought that one of the big wigs at WB would have looked at this whole untapped potential of the IP here of Warner Brothers and tried to capitalize upon that a little bit more, but evidently not, which I find to be surprising. But, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. WB's kind of fumbled the bag in many ways. They had a perfect opportunity to do what they needed to do, and they didn't do what they needed to do. They did what they wanted to do, which is sometimes not what you need to do.
Dude, what would have been like a dream job for me that would be so fun which I'm wholly unqualified for this job. I wanted to make that clear before I say this because I'm going to sound delusional. And I say it, I don't think I'm actually qualified to do this. I'm just saying it would be fun to do it. Would be to be like the Kevin Feige role over the DC Games universe. Again, I'm not qualified to do it. I've never developed a game. I'm not qualified, but it would be fun. Like it would be so fun to be like, okay, we have the Arkham games. And like, who do I bring in? Like, which game directors do I like get from other studios to bring in to make XYZ games? And like, what game should we do next? And build a roadmap and like work collaboratively with the studios. Of course, like, again, there's a reason all these developers are quitting. It's probably not like very fun to deal with all the politics and bullshit of all this. But I thought about that, like, damn, that would be really fun to like build out a roadmap for DC games, because clearly nobody did it. So, I would volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly would actually benefit DC so well, because it seems like, obviously Insomniac has a roadmap, and that's just one development studio. I mean, like, you have Motive that's making Iron Man. You have, who else is it? You have Black Panther and Captain America World War II game. Like, what the fuck? You have Blade coming out. I mean, you have this whole
Yeah, that's
ass
nuts.
lineup of
That's
Marvel
crazy.
games that are like so obscure and abstract, and are actually potentially pushing the boundary. And you have Marvel, or you have DC over here making Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. Ooh, you're
And what
shooting
else?
people.
Like Wonder Woman, which will maybe come
Wonder
out.
Woman in 2020 fucking 75. Oh, I can't wait for that game. Oh, you got the Superman game that's never going to come out. They're just going to keep talking about it. I mean, like, come on now. There's so much that DC and WB can do as a whole. And I mean, maybe they're going bankrupt or some shit, but I mean, like, how hard can it really be to just ask a development studio to make like a fucking 6-7 hour game of like Green Lantern and make it $50 and just go ahead and post it?
All right,
And just see how
Marcel,
many
you
people
make a
fucking
Green
enjoy that
Lantern
shit.
game.
Yeah.
You make one.
I don't know shit about Green Lantern. I'll be great with Flash,
I'm
but
joking, I'm
I'll
joking.
be great.
No,
with
I
that.
agree.
No,
I agree. It
yeah,
should
we
be
need
easier
we
than
need
but,
we need
but
somebody on top.
dude, it's every single WB in DC brand has the exact same fucking problem. They have the same issue. There's no vision for any of the content, whether it's Harry Potter, whether it's the DC movies, whether it is the DC video games. There is no architect, there's no vision, there's no strategy. And when you look at this Suicide Squad game and how it connects to Arkham, it's evident there was no plan to connect. Now, there was a plan to connect from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City. Obviously, that was clear. But beyond that, there was no plan for the DC video games universe. And honestly,
One second,
if
one second.
WB good.
Do you think Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, because they were involved with this game, but they left, of course, back in December of 2022, right before the game got delayed in April of 2023. Do you think Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill had a big part in this game, or do you think that they were kind of overshadowed by the
Okay,
upper head?
I have strong opinions on this, and I want to hear what Jay thinks about this.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of people saying, with some of the leaks coming out, which people don't like and don't like some of the decisions that have been made, a lot of people are saying this is why Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill left. It's like this game was a disaster. It wasn't their fault, and blah, blah, and they didn't like the story, and that's why they left. And to me, the opposite is true, insofar as like Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker aren't leaving because they didn't like the story. They crafted the story. Like, they were the game direct. Sefton Hill was the game director of the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing got approved without him knowing about it. And he left, I think a year ago. He left Rocksteady a year ago. So that was already after all these cutscenes had been filmed and everything. So that's not to say I think that they left because of the frayed relationship with Warner Brothers and corporate BS. And I think that that's the biggest reason that they left, probably because they want to just make something a little bit more creative. And also, frankly, Rocksteady is a little bit trapped making DC games. So they might have had more of a creative impulse to go outside of DC games, but I don't think that they will ever be able to do that because of the money behind the DC brand. But yeah, I don't buy it all these comments that are like, this is why Sefton Hill left, because he didn't like the story. He realized the story was bad and Rocksteady's in shambles. It's like, well, he was in charge of the story. That was his job. And so
I'm one of those people. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of those people that I'm like, one of the reasons why he left is probably because he was forced to kind of make the story, or at least forced to make this game in some shape or form. But in many ways, I mean, yeah, you're right. He didn't leave until, I mean, they basically were 4 months out from delaying the game. I'm pretty sure the game was supposed to come out in May, and they delayed it in April. So, and then it's supposed to come out in February. So the main developers or the main directors were already gone. And it's I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think I'm with Kobe on this one, just because, I mean, this game has been in development for years. I think if they were very much opposed to this game, they would have left long before they did. I do think it's interesting that they left Rocksteady about the same time that all the higher ups at Warner Brothers Montreal were leaving. It does kind of make me wonder if James Gunn, Peter Safran, and David Zaslav all kind of came in and maybe those have been the three that have looked at this and said, this is kind of directionless. Rocksteady, why aren't you guys just making more Batman Arkham games? Like, that's what people like. That's what we know sells. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe James Gunn has come in and said everything needs to be connected to my DCU. So after Suicide Squad, I want you guys to make Ace the Bat Hound the video game.
It's so hard to say though, because David wants these types of games. He's came out and publicly said that he wants games as a service game, so that he wants
that is
these
true.
games. So like if that's more, and Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker are the ones that wanted to make this game, or at least were the ones that were like, let's make a Suicide Squad RPG, let's do it, and like they're like the ones going for it, then why would they leave like 4 months before or 5 months before release? And also, like, you know, it seems like they're trying to get their name away from the game. And it's almost like the Glenn Schofield and the other guy that created Sledgehammer Games when they were making Call of Duty games. It's like nobody wants to be stuck making those Call of Duty games. They knew exactly where the fuck that shit was going. So once they realized where the fuck that shit was sailing, once they realized where Rocksteady was selling, I think they had the same idea. They're like, nah, no. If we're gonna have to keep making these games underneath David Sloslev or whatever the fuck his Russian ass name is, then you know what? We're done, bro. We're done, bro. This Russian ass fucking German looking motherfucker. No, we're done.
The other thing I will say though is that, like, look, I don't know anyone that would love to make a Batman game or a Superman movie more than me. Like, I love these characters and I have so many ideas for what I could do with them. But even I've thought, like, if I ever did get that opportunity, and I never will, it's wishful thinking, but if I did, you know, like, let's say that somebody called me up and I had a meeting that went really well and they said, hey, we want you to make a standalone Superman trilogy. You know, would I maybe finish up with that trilogy and say, hey, now I want to do whatever movie is next in this universe. I want to do the Batman equivalent in this universe. Or would I wrap up that 10 years of filmmaking with the, like, I'm kind of done with DC. Like, I'm ready to move on and do something else. I mean, these guys have been making Batman games since, like, I was in elementary school. You know, like,
True.
I could totally see these guys just being like, yeah, I'm ready to go do something else.
Bro, I was still scared of Chucky, the fucking killer doll, by the time they were making Arkham Asylum.
But yeah, I do, again, I think that there is something that pushed a lot of developers away. And I don't know if it was like the new heads of DC coming to them all and saying, hey, we'd like you all to step down. We're going to go in a very different direction. We want to streamline all our titles. We want to simplify all the mechanics, make them very similar. And maybe that's what drove Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker and Patrick Redding and all of these guys away. Or maybe it's all unrelated. I don't know. I do think the timing is very interesting, though. I do agree.
I hear all these devs, and the timing for Rocksteady is particularly, like, you know, coincidental. But for like Sledgehammer and potentially even for Patrick Redding and maybe even Osama Dorius and all those guys that left WB Montreal, the example or the excuse that Glenn Schofield and the other Sledgehammer, I keep forgetting that guy's name, but the excuse that they use is that they wanted to find new adventures in gaming. And that's the same exact excuse that, you know, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker use. And, you know, it's like new adventure. It's like, I feel like if you had at least freedom, you would have been able to do whatever new adventure you wanted with your video games. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's weird that they had a business that was top of the fucking superhero ranking. Nobody ever thought that anybody was better than Rocksteady in superhero games until Insomniac came around. So to take that studio, which, by the way, didn't make a superhero game until Insomniac made their, I mean, like, Insomniac has already made three super Spider-Man games since Rocksteady's made their goddamn Batman Arkham Knight game. And we're like, Rocksteady's doing a fucking looter shooter. We're all confused. So I can see why Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill left, and it's because they're probably, you know, they're probably stuck with WB and whatever they're doing. So I don't know. There might be something in the future that explains what's going on, but that's the only explanation, is that they're sick and tired of WB Montreal, or WB, I'm sorry, in general, telling them what to do or what to really make.
I think that you make a great point, Salvo, to give some credence to what Jake is saying and to illuminate Jake's perspective about being creatively free is think about this. Think about the negative response that this game is getting on Twitter because of the controversial creative decisions. You're not really creatively free making these DC games because we are so opinionated and have so many strong opinions and expectations as to what these games will be and what they will deliver. And so
what I kind of meant was I think that WB executives after WB Montreal, and there's so much context that's not in there when you're talking about these games too, but WB Montreal was making a Suicide Squad game, and most likely WB was like, well, why would you guys make that? Let's just have Rocksteady make that instead. So there's a lot of context behind the scenes too, where like there was another Suicide Squad game being made by another development team like a year before this game was being worked on. So there's a lot of context there too. So I get what you're saying with with the creative freedom, but they could have done a lot better with what they were doing with that freedom too, with especially with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, totally. All right. Anything else we want to add?
I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, whichever channel you're watching it on, and ring the notification bell. Be sure to subscribe to Slickmoff, Irogen, and Salvage 1009. Make sure to check out all the links in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.